So the next big topic we're going to move on to, lads, is who is the next megastar in the Premier League? Maybe this is a bit harsh coming straight after us talking about Pulisic, because he was probably on that list of players we thought could break through, especially after Project Restart in the summer. But my question to you is, who is the next Cristiano Ronaldo? Who's the next Harry Kane, Thierry Henry? Who is that next figure that is going to be a generational talent that we think back to, early 2020, for the next 5-6 years is going to take the Premier League by storm? Because there are a lot of players that you probably say are already at that level: De Bruyne, Salah, Aguero, Aubameyang, Van Dijk, and N'Golo Kante. But who's next? Nick Mendola, I'm looking at a bracket of players there, but you've got a few names that I know you want to mention. But who's on that list that's like they're just on the cusp of being the next megastar in the Premier League?
Man, cusp is a very loaded term, so I'll start here. I've got two different cusps for you. You choose your own adventure. There's right there, because he's done it in Europe in big situations against PSG. That's Marcus Rashford. Getting the service he continues to get. I actually think he's having a bit of a down season this year and still putting up crazy numbers. And that's the sign of a potential megastar. The other one I want to add is Phil Foden. And I would almost guarantee it if Pep Guardiola doesn't leave Man City, because he's had a path for him. I thought it was a little silly. I've even almost thought that because of the path that Pep had overhyped him. But he's such a smart player. You can see him. They're not the same player, but you could see him doing Kevin De Bruyne things. You really could. So those would be where I start. But there is a laundry list of people after them who could make the jump. But Manchester is where it begins, I think.
Andy, what about you?
Yeah, the two that Nick named there have the benefit of being still quite young in their careers. 22 and 18 for Rashford and Foden. A lot of time still developed for those two. Foden, to me, I think is probably the most interesting one, because we haven't seen a player like him for quite a while. And what I mean by that is, I don't know where he plays. I mean, he can play in, I honestly believe he could play in about 6 different positions in that Manchester City team, given the fluidity of the players around him, given Pep's system and everything. So it will be very interesting, and I think probably crucial, which I think Nick makes a great point there, that having Guardiola continue to be his manager and be the one that develops him, I think is going to be very, very crucial for his career. If you look a little bit more established, obviously Bruno Fernandes, in 13, 14 months since arriving at Manchester United, has ascended to a level that I don't think anybody thought that he would do. I think everybody thought, oh, he'll come in, he'll be a nice Premier League player. Tottenham were linked to him in the summer before he went to Manchester United in January, and they chose Tanguy Ndombele and Giovanni Lo Celso over him. Looking back, don't know if it was the right decision. We've talked about Daniel Levy quite a bit this week. He would have been the one that would have signed off on that one. But he is of a certain quality that he is in a Manchester United team. He drags them to results, as he did this weekend against Newcastle United. There's no one else, for the most part, with the exception of Rashford on the occasion, to step up and just take control of that team and get them 3 points when they maybe don't deserve it.
I'm going to chuck a couple other names in there. I mean, Jack Grealish, obviously, is one that we're looking at, emerging talent this season. And I don't know if that's kind of dependent on him moving to Villa. Fans, please don't get upset, but a traditional big club, if he's, moves on to Manchester United or Manchester City, he has the ability. He's a bit older than some of the players we've mentioned, but he's kind of in that bracket of he could be, for the next 5-6 years, the best playmaker in the Premier League and almost take over from De Bruyne. So I'm also looking at a secondary list as well. That Nick, go ahead. I know you want to jump in.
I was going on that thread, going on that line. To me, it's the stage that they're on. Even when Manchester United is in the Europa League, it's the game a lot of people circle on the calendar, right? AC Milan is in the same vein because of their rich history. So that asterisk that we can put on this is super interesting to me. Grealish, same logic. James Maddison, who you might call kind of Grealish 1B, Richarlison, these players who are on teams that may well finish in the top 4 this year. I would make the argument that this is kind of crazy because N'Golo Kante probably should have a Ballon d'Or on his mantle. especially that Luka Modric has his. I think that's Conte's. If Wilfred Ndidi was in that spot, you're talking about just as impactful of a midfielder. So the stage is really important. We've seen this a lot at clubs like Newcastle over the years. Remember, the year they were relegated, they were starting on a regular basis Moussa Sissoko and Gini Wijnaldum. And how are those players viewed now that they're not on a team that was hurtling towards relegation, even with Rafa Benitez as their manager? So the stage is important. And the next time that you see a guy and you think, even when we talk about Brendan Rodgers, well, why would he leave there for there? Because we don't totally get it. We're not in that climate, and winning at Manchester United and Arsenal, for whatever reason, is going to be celebrated more than the Leicester miracle in world circles.
Talking about Leicester, though, I'm looking at that secondary list of players that maybe are kind of a further away from being the next megastar, but they could be. And Yuri Tielemans, and obviously we spoke about Maddison there, but Tielemans, and then you have another midfielder at West Ham, another club battling to be in the top four, Declan Rice. Like, players like that could be superstars if they do move on to bigger teams. I mean, Andy, what's your thoughts on those couple of players? I know you're, and I want to chuck in Mason Mount as well. A good midfielder, a really good midfielder at Chelsea, at a massive club, and he's kind of their talisman now, which is quite surprising. But Andy, thoughts on those players I mentioned?
Yeah, I would tend to think Mason Mount probably sometime in the pretty near future probably plateaus a little bit and kind of reaches the peak of what his, I don't want to say limited skill set, but he's very good at what he does. But I don't know how much room for growth there is in his game and to kind of add to it. For me, a player that doesn't fit any of those points there is Yuri Tielemans. He's been, it was shocking to me. I was downright shocked, and because I can still remember, I was the one on PST who wrote the post when Yuri Tielemans was signed by Leicester City, and I still remember sitting at my desk and thinking, how have Leicester signed Yuri Tielemans? How did any other club above them in the Premier League or anywhere in the world allow this to happen? How did they not sign him first? It was incredible to me because he's been on that list to be the next superstar from the time he was 16, 17 years old. And he made his ascent coming through at Anderlecht, and he went to Monaco and had a really, really good season or two there. And at that point I was like, okay, finally everybody's going to see it, because he was on that Champions League team as well, right? When they went deep into the Champions League, and it was, this team's going to get picked apart. They're going to go all over the place, and Monaco's going to be worse off for it. And he ended up at Leicester. I couldn't believe, no disrespect to Leicester, but he belongs at the very, very highest level of the game. And if Leicester can get Champions League next season, then he stays there, obviously. But he is, to me, just the most complete midfielder, top 2 or 3, I guess, probably in the Premier League at the moment. But over the next couple of years, I think he ascends very quickly into that number 1 spot and takes up the mantle of Kevin De Bruyne or anybody else that you want to put into that conversation, because he's that good.
Wow, we are big on Yuri Tielemans here on PST, and a couple of Leicester players, Harvey Barnes, Wilfred Ndidi. They got a lot of good young talent there.
Don't forget my boy, Joe. Wesley Fofana, 19 years old.
Yeah.
Joe, they haven't missed in a while. That's the biggest difference between when they had that miraculous run and who did they buy after that? Like a Filip Bankovic and Islam Slimani and Ahmed Musa. I don't know if that was all after. Iheanacho hasn't lived up to his price tag, but they have been hitting. I don't know how you say his name, but Castagna, right? The fullback. I think they've done a nice job there, and even some of their misses. Kramaric, who is now just a serial scorer in Bundesliga. So credit to their scouting department. They don't miss much, and I think Fofana might. We don't celebrate center backs a lot. Might be the gem of the bunch given his age.
Definitely. And putting our US men's national team hats on for a couple of seconds, we spoke about Pulisic probably, not being in this company right now, but is he the best American prospect who could get into that conversation? Or are we looking now towards Weston McKennie or even Gio Reyna to overtake Pulisic? I mean, quick thoughts on that, lads.
I love American soccer. We do this thing where was it 7 months ago, Christian Pulisic during Project Restart, look at him. He can't stop scoring. He's absolutely incredible. And now it's February 2021. Well, who's next? I'm bored of this one. he's still very, very good. And I would say the fact that what he does in attacking positions and where he's been already in his career, he's probably still that guy. He's definitely still that guy. Christian Pulisic's really good. Why is anybody pretending that he's not? Weston McKennie, also really good. Gio Reyna, also really good. And I think will eventually end up at a level similar to Christian Pulisic. But right now, Pulisic's still that guy.
Nick?
Yeah, absolutely. Even when he plays now, he looks great. I mean, not great, but when we're comparing him to other players, and I think about what Clint Dempsey did to make the Premier League comparison, and I haven't seen Giovanni Reyna's done some great stuff. Weston McKennie's done some great stuff. Pulisic's the only one who made me think, wow, like he might capture a team. He might capture a season. So until somebody goes ahead and runs a top 6 team as its best player for a month and a half, like Pulisic did last year, I'm going to sit here and say, you know what, please prove me wrong. Like 8 of you, go prove me wrong. But it's Christian Pulisic.
All right, Pulisic for Ballon d'Or 2025. You heard it here first. Yeah. Probably when he's with Bayern Munich, though.
I mean, World Cup, Champions League, Bundesliga title, probably, the domestic/club quadruple.
Casual.
Sextuple.
Yeah. Very, very casual.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe. Make sure you subscribe to watch highlights all season long and join us at the weekend at 7 a.m. Eastern on NBCSN for Premier League mornings, and sign up for Peacock Premium, where you'll have access to 175 exclusive live games all season long.